you actually mentioned some other marker words that we might want to think about too. So I was wondering if you wanted to talk a bit about the way demonstratives work, because again,
Sure.
this is such a fundamental part of our everyday language. We use them all the time,
Right.
but they can be used so powerfully and specifically in HB poetry, right?
Yeah, and I think that the key thing that gets messed up is a similar kind of problem between English. I think, for example, in Spanish you have a system very much like the Greek system. But what's puzzling about the Greek system and what we don't have an equivalent for is that we're talking about demonstratives. These are words that point at things, okay?
Right.
And what Greek has is a three-part demonstrative system. And the first person to explain this is Eckbert Barker, but there are lots of languages that have three-part demonstrative systems, but in the standard grammar books, they just don't know what to do with it. Then the way it works is this: you have three words that mean that are pointing words. Okay,
Right.
there's hade, hede, tade, which is just a very old pointing word with the particle de, and the particle de is a motion word, so you can use it's cognate with English word to, as in
Okay.
to a place. Okay,
And
and
you might
then
see it tacked on the end of words sometimes too,
yeah,
right?
exactly. You can say Honda demande in epic to his own house,
Uh-huh.
to his house, yeah, to his own house rather. But then the second demonstrative is hutos, haute tuto, which
Hmm.
also gets translated this, okay.
Hmm.
And the third one is ekainos, and ekainos, I think ekainos is derived from the adverb eke, which means there, okay,
Hmm.
pointing at a place that's not present, okay.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and so the standard translation of ekainos into English anyway is that, okay.
So a little bit more distant, sort of, is how
Yeah,
you're traditionally told
yeah,
to think about it, right?
yes, exactly. So what Barker says, and what you do have in Spanish, is that each of these demonstrative corresponds to a person of the verb. Persons of the verb are really cool thing to try and understand too. So the first person is the I, okay, is the speaker. The second person is a you, which is the person who's present and with whom you're acting, like you, Claudia, and I,
Yes.
okay. And then the third person, the he, the she, or the it, is not present. Okay, so there's a close relationship between I and you, and they as a pair are opposed to the he or the she or the it because the he or the she or the it are not present. But in any
Hmm.
case, the key idea is that hada means the this of an I.
Uh-huh.
Hotos is the this of you. Okay,
Uh-huh.
and akanos is the this of the person or who's not present. So it's
Right.
that person's.
Right.
So
Right.
there are examples even in Greek comedy of using the hutos, the forms of hutos to address a person whom you're speaking to. In other words, it means hey you. Okay.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So it's totally the way it works. Okay. The hardest one I think for us to come to grips with is the hot. We don't have this distinction between the persons. We just have this and that. Okay.
Right.
And then the hardest one I think for us to understand is hada, which you use of things that are close to the speaker, that the speaker is pointing at in his or her own vicinity. Okay.
Right.
So when in Herodotus, when the narrator says, and he said these things, it used the I form of the demonstrative. The next things that I'm going to say to you, right?
Right. Right. Right.
So,
Right.
so
Right.
it's about in terms of proximity to the speaker always, right? If you use that word.
Um,
So
but then once you point to, let's say you can use a kanos, right?
yes,
Point at that
exactly.
guy. It's
Yeah.
sometimes could be a way to make something present, right? So Anna
Yes.
Bonifati, one of your
Yeah,
colleagues,
he has these amazing things to say about that. Yeah, yeah.
right, right.
So you have those wonderful scenes in the beginning of the Odyssey that she can. You're going to talk to her, so you should get them
Yeah,
for
yeah,
here.
yeah, yeah.
But they only talk about Odysseus as Akenos, right,
Yeah.
without mentioning his name. Yeah.
Exactly. And so it is a system, and it can be understood in that way,
So,
and it's being used in the most powerful way to say beautiful things, right?
Yeah,
To bring
yeah,
things
exactly.
closer, bring things.
And they just go right by us because we don't have these categories.
Right, right.
So
So
it's
that's
just,
why I'm so glad you could take the time to talk to us about this. I mean, I
oh,
know some of our people in our community are interested in learning Greek. Not everyone is. That's okay. But it's still, I think, helpful to think about the way that,
yeah,
because language is about the way you think about the world, right?
exactly, exactly. That's why it's such a wonderful instrument for understanding ancient societies, is that it gives you the categories of thought to a certain extent, right? They're
Okay.
built into things. Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful.